Well, good afternoon and welcome to Voices of Faith Transforming the Community, better known as SAP. The mission of SAP is that we are a Christian faith group dedicated to addressing racial, social, educational, economic, and other issues of our community with faith, strength, and boldness in order to ensure that Saginaw is a growing community, that's a balanced community, and that it is a healthy community. We advocate, in essence, we engage, and we collaborate. We do that at all levels. And the premise behind that is we figure we need to talk to deciders so that, again, we can see significant changes in our community. My name is Dr. Craig Tatum, and I serve as pastor for New Life Baptist Ministries and also have the privilege of serving as president for Saginaw African American Pastors. And I'll be your host on today. Today, I have two, I call them giants in our community. And I say this every week, and I know you guys you're used to it by now, but I call them impact giants in our community because they impact our community in some very awesome ways. So let me again introduce a good friend and brother, Bishop Larry Camel, pastor of New Birth Baptist Cathedral. And I think he also serves as vice president for AllPac. He's going to tell you a little bit more about that. And one of the newest individuals that I have come to know, Miss Liggins of Guided Grace Family and Youth Services. She serves as the chief executive officer and president, and she carries a host of other jobs as well. So let me welcome both of them. And I'm going to have Bishop Camel tell us a little bit about himself before we get started. Our premise today, our thought today is talking about a citizens community forum that took place, I believe it was on November 21st, some very important information from our community about issues that they're concerned about. And so we brought today the individuals that organized it, that facilitated it, and they got some great results. So let's welcome again Bishop Camel and Miss Liggins. Welcome. Bishop, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Pastor Tatum. Bishop Camel of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Cathedral, which he also had mentioned earlier. I'm also the vice president of the AllPac. AllPac is Advocate and Leaders for Police and Community Trusts. And this is a great opportunity for AllPac because this is our first endeavor with AllPac. Mm-hmm. And we partnered with Guided Grace and Miss Nicole Liggins, and we got some great information to share with you today. And I'm just excited about this community effort that took place, and we're engaging the community to come together on one accord. And we're going to let Miss Liggins let her come in now and introduce herself and talk to you a little bit about what we got started on November the 21st.
Ms. Liggins, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, and thank you so much, Pastor Tatum, for the invite. I'm certainly more than honored to be here today. My name is Nicole Liggins, and I am the CEO and president of Guided Grace Family Youth Services as a nonprofit organization. Our mental health, what we do is we provide mental health supports to our sister company, Guided Grace. And that's the mental health agency that is co-owned by myself and my husband, Sylvester Liggins. But and in addition to that, I own Building Blocks Child Care and Preschool Center. I've owned that for 13 years now, I believe. Okay. And so yes, I'm busy. I also have a lot of committees I sit on. Mm-hmm. In Lansing, Michigan, out of school time. The MOST committee, I am on that, and I'm on a host of other things. I will say this project here was just so appealing to me to get involved in, because, as you know, crime has been something that has plagued our community for quite some time. And we as citizens here, those of us who were born and raised here, know Saginaw to look differently than what it has looked.
Exactly. And just so people know, you're talking more about the project itself. This was a community forum.
Absolutely.
That took place on November.
Right. So I'll go back. Let me just go back to that. So Bishop Cam and I had partnered about 4 or 5 years ago because there's a out of school time program that we partnered on, and there's a grant that was written, and of course, he's one of our partners with Guided Grace.
Gotcha.
And so we provide that. Well, he came to me and said, there's a an opportunity that we have to really support All Pact and this effort through the Department of Justice. There's a grant opportunity. And, we just need a little support in how we get this thing off and rolling. And so, I don't really write grants for other folks. I know it's involved in that, but this is so important. It's for our community. And so he and I talked, and I said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And so we all got it done together, and I turned it in, and lo and behold, they were able to fund these efforts. Now, what are these efforts, you say? Well, what we knew was, in order for All Pact to have the presence in the community that we needed to have, because All Pact, the whole idea is strengthening the relationship between law enforcement and the community.
Correct.
That is the focus. And how do we do that? That's the question. That's what we had to ask, how do we do that? Well, what we realized we could do is take these grant funds and really make a huge impact by having events. A lot of times people say what they're going to do, but it's in my logo. Our actions speak louder.
Okay.
So we really want to dig in here and do it. And we wanted to do it. We looked at 3 main purposes and goals. One was to develop the healthy relationships between the police, discover that there are many things that we can learn from each other.
Right.
And then demonstrate a peaceful coexistence between the community and law enforcement.
That's
excellent.
Right, yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do. And so that's what we did. We put it together, and we had our very first event of 5, I believe.
Okay.
Which was the community forum, November 21st. And it was, I would say it was very successful in the feedback that we're getting.
And just so people are aware, because you said the first of 5, so that means Saginaw, get ready. And Bishop, I'm gonna have you talk about it in just a little bit. But if we could go back, I think people need to really hear, and I hope you'll stay connected with us, that the real genesis here is we're about trying to decrease crime, strengthen relationships, make Saginaw a better place. When Saginaw is a better place, then all the surrounding cities, counties, if you will, are better places as well. We know right now that more than 97% of the communities within Michigan have a lower crime rate than Saginaw. Now, that's not to say that Saginaw is a bad place. Don't misunderstand me. There is a perception out there that it is. But we also understand that for a city of our population, about 45,000, give or take a little bit here or there, is higher than other cities of the same population size. So at this forum that you held a week or 2 or so ago, you had a group of community citizens come, and the premise was to hear from them on every level. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So what we wanted to do, because I feel like anytime that you undertake this, and I misspoke before, I said we would have 5 events. We actually will have 6 events.
Okay.
And that was the first of 6 that will run through September 2025. But getting back to your question, when we put this together, we realized that we had to hear the voice of the community. A lot of times that is not decided. When we start doing things, we need to understand, what does the community want?
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate for us to feel like we have all the answers. Well, the truth of the matter is, if we had all the answers, these things wouldn't be happening.
Yes,
Amen to that.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we all can agree. So what we decided to do is put it together, have speakers. I think we had there were 13 speakers. The speakers had 3 to 5 minutes to share their, basically, we called them impact speakers, because we had different speakers from different types of organizations.
Gotcha.
And we wanted them to share. We had some folks from All Pact come talk. We had the Chief Ruth spoke. We had Delana Space Allen speak. We had, oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. We had so many.
Charles Schroeder.
Yes.
Civil rights.
From civil rights. And we had a lot of people who in our community really make an impact at what they do, but you might not hear these voices all the time, but their impact is very strong. So we wanted to bring them together because we knew that just having an open, just having an open forum where people get to talk back and forth is not productive.
Correct.
So we didn't want that. Right. We had to have that first. And then after, what we did is we did, after hearing from everyone, and it went pretty consistently, pretty fast. And folks were engaged. And then after that, what we had was, we called them breakout sessions. And we had 4 major areas of concern that we wanted to hear from the public: education, crime prevention. There was health and wellness. And then there was, what was the last one? Health and wellness, education, crime prevention.
And it talked about violence.
Yeah, that was crime. That was in the crime prevention. But we had four breakout sessions. And in those breakout sessions that we had, we got a good opportunity to get feedback from people, because there was just 2 questions that were answered in the breakout session. What's the problem and how do we fix it?
And I think people need to hear this clearly, that the goal behind this forum flat out was, Saginaw, tell us how we can make ourselves better.
Right.
And I think that's critical for people to understand. It is the first of a number, six total, 5 more coming in various different ways. You're going to hear about that as we continue in the broadcast. But, again, let the record reflect. And Bishop, you can talk more about this, that looking to hear how he and his department can help Saginaw be a better place. I think people need to hear that. And the only way we're going to do that, as Ms. Liggins said, is you got to come to these sessions and speak. Does your voice matter? Of course it does. And that's not just here in Saginaw. That's Bay City, that's Midland, that's Flint. The same principle applies there just as well. If you want things to be different in your community, you can't just sit home over a cup of coffee and talk about them. You got to go out and do something. And this was one of those attempts where you had well over 100+ individuals, more than that. Now, hear that now, 100+ individuals showed up because they wanted to express concerns that they had. And, as you heard, sounds like it was a great conversation. So let's talk a little bit of that. What were some of the comments, Bishop? Talk a little bit. What some of the comments, Ms. Liggins, that were expressed from the citizens that showed up?
One of the main focus that we had was to bring law enforcement and community together. That's what the ALLPAC is all about. Advocates for leaders and police and community trust, bringing them together, that we can hear the concerns of the citizens in the community. But like Chief Roof says, he cannot arrest his way out of this predicament.
Correct.
It's got to be the community coming together, and the community are dealing with their issues. That's what's going on in the community. And
there are a lot of issues when you think about it. I mean, everything from we got a food desert. We've got Saginaw ranks number 1, 2 in obesity. We've got mental health issues, which again, we're going to come back to Ms. Liggins to talk about. We've got a myriad of different issues. And I like what Chief Roof said. He cannot arrest his way out. There has been a collaborative between city and law enforcement. And let me go a step further, since we're part of Saginaw African American Pastors. There's got to be a collective effort between the city, churches, the school system, the hospitals, and law enforcement, not to mention the economic piece, because so goes economics, so goes our community, so goes our school system, so goes our city. And I think people need to put those numbers together so they understand. So talk a little bit, Ms. Liggins, then we'll come back to you, Bishop. Talk a little bit about the mental health part. How critical is that in our community?
Oh my goodness. Mental health is the core of our community. I mean, if you think about it, and just think about this. If you wake up in the morning, your mind is not right, you're probably not going to work.
Okay.
I mean, you're probably not going to go. I mean, our mental wellness, which often goes neglected because we feel like that's not something that would stop us from functioning right away.
Gotcha.
But when you think about the fact that it really sets the tone for your entire day, how is your mental wellness, right? And so if we look at our community itself and you gauge, even just looking at our youth, you know, every time we have programs at Guided Grace Family Youth Services, and you know, when those kiddos come in, one of the first things we want to do is take a temperature check.
I got you.
And because we want to know what's coming in with them,
Yes,
what's been going on. See, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Exactly.
And so a lot of times we know, looking at what's happening in Saginaw, for those of us who are, I'm gonna say over the age of 40.
Gotcha.
We know when something just doesn't make any sense.
Gotcha. And let me ask you a question. So since the pandemic, is it safe to say, and just going based on Guided Grace Family and Youth Services, that you've seen an increase in people seeking help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without doubt. We've seen issues. There have been differences all the way, even going back to early childhood.
Okay.
I mean, I have kids now at my daycare center who are 4 and they're not potty trained.
Wow.
And the parents seem to be nonchalant about it. Wow. Right? They don't seem connected either. When you look at the fact that we were isolated for so long, and it just takes a small amount of time to impact the majority of everyone's daily routine. When we look at what happened there, you can't refute the numbers.
Absolutely.
The numbers are what they are going to be. You have, you know, violence among youth went up. Depression went up.
Wow.
You had children who and adults who wanted to self-harm. That went up. All of these statistics that really are measurable. There's a hard number for each one.
And I think people need to understand this is just not synonymous with Saginaw. This is nationwide.
Absolutely.
You know, these increases that you're talking about, they happen everywhere. We're just talking about Saginaw because we're natives here and because this is our thrust for today. But I think people need to understand Saginaw is not just synonymous with this. This happened nationwide. And I think people need to see that as some of the reason why we deal with some of the stuff that we deal with now. So I think at the end of the day, part of this piece involved, okay, what now can we do? And Bishop, part of ALLPAC's role was to bring citizens together with law enforcement to help resolve some of that. So do you feel like we're making some headway, or is this the genesis of making some headway?
I think this is the start,
okay.
The start to the headway.
Okay.
And as we continue with our efforts the rest of this year, you're going to see a better impact on what we're trying to do, not only with law enforcement and in the community, but also with our youth. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But our plan is to make a big impact in our city.
Gotcha.
And bring people together and that we can all get on one accord. And you mentioned about the pastors and leaders in the community. It's important that we now step up and come together in these forums and different settings where we can get us our agenda for 2025. We want to be better than what it was in 24.
And I think the key thing as we get ready for a break here for churches to understand, it can't be always inward focus. A lot of churches, when they look at this, they say, okay, what's in it for me? Well, what about what's in it for our community?
Right.
And we've got to look at some of the things that we do may not ultimately end up with, you know, people busting down the doors to get into your church. But if we can make our community healthier, then we begin to see transformation, not only in our schools, but also in our churches just as well. And so I think for us, as you said, this is going to be critical as we move forward. You've got 4 or 5 other issues we're going to talk about on the other side of the break, because I think people need to know and get involved, and then talk a little bit more about Guided Grace, the services that you offer, and how that's going to help us just as well. I think you guys are also recipients of an ARPA grant.
No.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Yes, we were.
Okay.
We were
we'll talk about that on the other side, because again, I want people to know how that's going to help you do some of the things that you're concerned about now. So let's pause right now and take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes talking about the power of citizens and how they can make a difference with their voices. That's our whole goal. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. Hey, we are back again, transforming, again, voice of faith transforming the community, better known as Saginaw African American pastors. And again, we have 2 of Saginaw's superheroes, if I could use those phrases, in a person of Bishop Campbell and Miss Nicole Liggins, who works with Guided Grace Family and Youth Services. She is the CEO and doing some phenomenal work in our community. The 2 have combined together to use their skills, their leadership, and their influence to try to impact our community on a bigger scale. And they had a community citizens conference or forum roughly about 2 weeks ago, and they got a ton of information from citizens that's going to do several things. And number one, it's going to give us some marching orders, because what citizens perceive as reality is reality for them. But then secondly, it also helps us figure out, okay, where do we need to start focusing our efforts to get dollars to come into our community? It's a great relationship. All-PAC, of which Bishop Campbell serves as vice president, but he also has, again, tremendous impact through Parishioners on Patrol. We also know that he is a pastor in our community that's done some phenomenal work over the last 20 years. And obviously with Miss Liggins, of course, Guided Grace, and she owns a daycare. So she's impacting at every level. They provide counseling and just finished this impact. So talk a little bit more about some of the issues, Miss Liggins, that came up that citizens voiced as issues they were concerned about.
Well, our citizens really showed up. And first of all, let me just say thank you, Saginaw. Saginaw in Bay City. We had a couple folks from that area as well. When people work in a space, they consider that their community too. And so I know a couple people who were there from Bay City, and they said, well, hey, I work in Bay City, but I work in Saginaw, but I live in Bay City. And so this is, part of their community too. So I just want to, first of all, say thank you to those who did participate, our impact speakers, and then all of our participants. But one of the things that we had these breakout sessions where it was time to learn. And we had one that focused on education, and Dr. Erica Taylor, who is the executive director of Saginaw ISD early childhood. We had her facilitate that, and she just had so many good good dialogue. But one of the things, the problems that some folks saw or voiced was, hey, we have truancy amongst our youth. That it often leads to crime, because when they don't have anything to do, we all know with an idle mind, right?
Absolutely.
And so, the question was, how do we fix it? Well, she wrote on, and I'm looking right at her flip chart. Part of what she wrote was counselors, mentors, because this is coming from the community. And she had a flip chart and she was just writing away everything she heard.
Wow.
Security guards, metal detectors, modern activities, life skills, make school hands-on and more enjoyable, so the kids will want to be there. Create after school and social engagements.
Yes.
And programs to educate and equip parents. And maybe help the parents get their GEDs, because we know statistics show that when our parents are more educated, our children
absolutely
become more educated. So she did a phenomenal job facilitating hers. And then we had Dr. Delisha Pruitt. She was facilitating along with my husband, Sylvester Liggins, and with Lakeisha Smith from the Department of Health and Human Services. They facilitated, if I can talk, health and wellness. And they had amazing feedback from that. They talked about number of vulnerable people in our community, because we have to assess that. Who are our vulnerable people in our community?
Right.
Those things have to be assessed. And so they had a lot of feedback from that. In addition to that, we had Renee Johnston, Saginaw Community Foundation, and we also had Delana Spates Allen from Saginaw Future, and we had a breakout session for economic development.
Wow.
And so I'm looking at that flip chart right here, and part of, there was I think if Delana Spates Allen didn't write 5 pages, she didn't write one.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, there was so much feedback, and we've got some engaging video from that.
Okay.
But one of the solutions to help our economic development in our community was, alliance with other young people with leadership, maybe financial education, after school programs, education, skill development. Be informed of the resources that are available. And I would say, after having a talk with Renee Johnston and Delana Spates Allen, being informed of resources was their number one. They said every breakout session, because we ended up having to rotate 4 times with our breakout sessions. And they said every single one, what they found was people weren't aware of the resources in our community.
And I think, one of the things that we have to do, this group is one vehicle, but I think the other thing that we have to be aware of is that children, young adults communicate at different levels on different platforms. And so while this is one platform, you've got TikTok out there, you've got WhatsApp, I think, out there, you got others, whereas the stuff that we're sharing now, most kids may not receive it because they may not listen on this platform. So we got to figure out some better ways to make that connection as we go forward. The key really is, which is what we're all about, is providing, empowering individuals to get information that would transform their lives. So Bishop, what are some other things that you discovered from parents or adults, citizens, while you were there?
Well, I think the interest was phenomenal. They were interested and they came and they participated.
And there were pastors there too.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. We had Pastor Edwards from the Saginaw Valley District also.
Excellent.
He was there. And
Excellent.
They came and they participated and they gained some insight on the vision that we're trying to bring to fruition, and support. I think we got support now. And,
excellent.
Especially from Renee Johnston and in the Delana Spates Allen and economic development. And you and I both know that economic development is a number one key for our city.
Absolutely.
It's abandoned houses here. It's property that's available that can be redeveloped. And, so it's an opportunity for our community. We can restore what we see in Saginaw to make it a better place.
And Saginaw, it really is up to us. At some point, you got to make your mind up rather, that you want better. And that translates into action. You can't just sit back and expect it to happen. They didn't build Rome overnight.
Right.
This is going to take a collective effort. There has to be a mind shift, if you will, that we want better. Now, it starts right there in your own neighborhood. There ought to be a neighborhood expectation of what your neighborhood looks like, what your own home looks like. But then it has to translate into expectations from a behavioral standpoint, from a communal standpoint. And some of the things that you're talking about doing is all about bringing community together in positive, wholesome ways. So I know you've got about 5 other issues between the two of you. Talk a little bit about those issues and give people kind of a notice of what's going to happen over the next year or so.
Well, the community forum was just a start. And I want people to know that the community forum was a start. It was a good start. We had a lot of involvement, a lot of people that came, and that made us, I think the reflection from that for me was, okay, people are hungry for something different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's time for them to eat some different food.
I got you.
And so these, I think, some of these other events that we have scheduled are really going to be different than what we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And they give people an opportunity to really come out and have peaceful engagement.
There you go.
And that's what we all want. I mean, nobody wants a community where you're afraid to let your children play outside.
And I think that's critical, Ms. Liggins, because I think some of the information I saw in the Be Well report, I think it was written a couple of years ago, people were saying, you know, I'm afraid to go outside. I'm afraid to go to events for fear that something's going to happen.
Right.
And Saginaw, we can determine that by our collective effort to work together. Now, let me say this to Bay City and Midland Flint as well. You too have the power to make this happen, but it starts with somebody standing up, setting the expectation. All of us know some of those kids out there in the streets. All of us know them. They're our nephews, they're our nieces, they're our grandkids. We need to have those conversations. And I think that's why these sessions are critical, because what they do is they reconnect us with law enforcement. Is that correct, Bishop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So talk about, if you will, you've got 1 or 2 things happening fairly quick here, right? So talk about that just a little bit between the two of you.
So in February 8th, actually, we have the 3-on-3 Unity Ball Classic.
Okay.
That'll be taking place at the Dow Event Center, and that's a showdown at the Dow is what we're calling it.
Excellent.
And it's really an opportunity to have a 3-on-3 tournament. You know, years ago, Saginaw had the Gus Macker.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, we had the Gus Macker, and it was successful.
Now, this 3-on-3, anybody can be a part of that, correct?
Anyone can be a part of. Now, when I say anyone, let me preface it a little bit.
Okay, all right.
We will have the age brackets. We're really gearing this towards our youth.
Gotcha.
And so we're really looking for 3rd grade to 12th grade basketball. People who buy who play the basketball.
Gotcha.
But then we will have opportunity for our I will call, and I'm gonna put myself in this category, our senior community.
I got you.
Of basketball players. And I was a cheerleader. I didn't play. So please, people, don't call me and say, you know, you didn't play. That's true. I did not. But but we will have something for our older crowd, some of our an adult bracket as well. I'll put it that way. We would call it. There will be an adult bracket, and
that's going to be February the 8th
at the Dow Event Center.
I just want people again to mark your calendars.
Yes,
that's when it's going to go down,
and we'll have more information about that coming out in the next couple of weeks. Okay. We have an app that people will be able to go to and register their teams. We're going to keep registration fairly low as far as how much we want people to pay, because we don't want barriers. We've heard what the barriers are,
right?
And you know, it's tight out here for all of us. I mean, eggs are $8 a carton.
Wow!
And then you got You got milk, $4 a gallon. So these are, inflation is real. And so we don't want people to stay at home because they couldn't afford to be part of this. And so I want to say that, but this is going to be awesome. We'll have community members there. And this is a family affair. Bring your aunts, your uncles, and everybody along with you. So we're really excited about this.
Excellent. Now I think you've got another event happening not long after that, something about a peace conference. Talk a little bit about that between the two of you. Go ahead, Bishop.
A Unity for Peace conference. This is going to, again, bring the community together. Now we're going to take what we get from the 3-on-3 Unity Ball Classic, and we're going to bring that together. And we're going to meet at a designated place to expand the vision of Saginaw.
Excellent.
And bringing the leaders. Now we're looking for leaders in pastors and school teachers. I was at the Dow today, and they said, we're excited for this 3-on-3.
Excellent.
She said, we're looking forward to it, and
Excellent.
we want to make sure that it's successful. They just had the hockey last year.
Yes.
And why can't we have a 3-on-3 Unity Ball Classic? Showdown at the Dow.
Look, anything is possible in Saginaw. We know that because, again, we grew up here. We've seen the success. We've seen it when the community comes together as one. And this is really I'm going to say a national call, but a citywide call for our community to come together. I like what was said earlier about this is not just for basketball enthusiasts. Teachers can come, seniors can come, pastors can come. If you're a professional in this area, if you work at the plant, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's about Saginaw coming together as one. It's time for us to do it. We know it needs to happen. It is the start. And with everything, you're always trying to evolve to get better. And Saginaw, that's what the goal is here. So you got a couple of other things. We got a couple minutes left. Real briefly, tell me about the other things that you got going on.
So that like Bishop was saying, the Unity for Peace conference. Now we'll take all the information that we learned from the community forum, and we are going to actually use that information, all the feedback, to actually compose this peace conference. So we're going to have some speakers and have workshops that reflect what we heard the need was. When we did the forum. In June, there's also the Community Outreach Festival. And this is something that is Bishop staple. He has done this now for how many years, Bishop?
About 9 years.
9 years.
Excellent.
And so we are going to make that even bigger and better. We're going to have a STEM tent for our kiddos to be involved with that.
Excellent.
But it'll be a good time as well. July, Cops and Community Day. That'll be Bishop, he has done that for years as well.
Yeah, I just got a call lately about meeting on the 12th.
Okay.
They're ready to go again. We did this last year, and the state police and it was about 9 different police agencies.
Wow.
Came together, cooked for the kids.
Excellent.
And they had a basketball tournament there, and they gave away a gold to a little kid, and it was awesome. Basketballs, and they got a trailer that they pull in, and they got their own grills, and
excellent.
It's awesome. And the colonel from the Michigan State Police, he was present, and he was very, very excited about what happened.
Excellent.
And they're looking forward now to get this thing together for June. Yeah.
And then also I'm particularly excited about this one. In September, to close out our sequence of events, we'll have a seniors in unity luncheon.
That's going to be excellent.
Now we have to, because our seniors oftentimes are, we look over our seniors.
Of course.
We don't think that they have anything valuable to say. Well, they have the wealth of knowledge that we need to transform this city. And a lot of times we don't ask our seniors what they think, but they know it all. I mean, I don't know. I know my grandmother knew everybody on the block. I don't know about anybody else. And she could tell you what was going on too, because she was very mindful and watchful. And so we want to give our seniors an opportunity to have a voice and know that their voices are heard. And we want to get them back involved with our youth. That's our missing key. That's what we think.
And I think Saginaw, again, you need to hear again that the goal here is to change the trajectory of Saginaw, the mindset of Saginaw. So everything from a 3-on-3 basketball classic to unified for peace conference, a community outreach festival, a cops and community day, and then seniors in unity luncheon is really designed to get everyone together. Now, there is so much with so little time to talk about, because we got to come back and talk about youth in crisis, community in crisis. We didn't get a chance to do that today, but that means that we got to have part 2. So we're asking every one of you to stay tuned. We got to bring that back. It impacts everybody in our neighborhood. We've got relatives involved, so we got to come back and do a part 2. But we want to tease you all today with, again, the results from this initial community forum. As you can see, there were some great results. Look at all the great work that's going to happen over the next 8 to 10 months right here in the city of Saginaw. And yes, you can be a part of it simply reaching out. Come on, Bishop, give us your number. Ms. Liggins, give them your number or where they can reach you if they want to be an active part. Go ahead.
Yeah. Bishop Larry Camel, you can reach me at 989-798-6405. You can reach me at any time there. And also my church is 3121 Sheridan Street, New Birth Missionary Baptist Cathedral. You're available. We're available to the community anytime.
And I can be reached. My name is Nicole Liggins, Guided Grace Family Youth Services. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always call 989-401-8990. You can ask for me. You'll probably get my assistant, but she'll make sure that all your concerns get to me. I'm just all over the place. That's all.
Well, we're out of time, but let me pause and thank again Bishop Larry Camel, pastor New Birth Baptist Cathedral, Vice President Allpack, and Miss Nicole Liggins, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Guided Grace. And give me your daycare again.
Building Blocks Child Care and Preschool.
All right. Let me thank again Alpha Media, KISS 107 for this platform, our superhero and engineer, Mr. Matthew Lester, New Life Baptist Ministries, and Saginaw African American pastors for this opportunity. Quick thought as we close. Marion Williamson said this: in every community, there's work to be done. In every nation, there are wounds to heal. And in every heart, there's the power to do it. Saginaw, we've got the heart to do it. We can transform the community if we work together. That's what it's all about. No little I's, no big U's. We're all in it together. Let's do what we can. Hey, God bless you. That is our prayer.